Kalen's ship descended slowly through the thick green clouds of Virelia. The planet was alive with color. Giant trees stretched toward the sky, their leaves shimmering with shades no human had ever seen. Rivers twisted like silver snakes, and distant mountains glowed with a faint golden light. Kalen adjusted his suit and peered through the viewport. He had heard stories of this world, but no description could capture its wild beauty. Stepping out onto the forest floor, Kalen felt the soft, springy moss under his boots. The air was warm and smelled of flowers, rain, and earth. He was here on a mission of exploration, but his curiosity was personal too. He wanted to meet the planet's inhabitants, the Tirani, a species known for speed, strength, and sharp minds. Humans rarely came this far into the galaxy, and few had returned to tell the tale. As Kalen moved cautiously between the giant ferns, he noticed movement in the shadows. His heart rate stayed steady, but his senses sharpened. A figure appeared, suddenly crouched atop a boulder like a panther. Her skin was a deep amber, her eyes sharp and bright. She carried a spear, long and decorated with colorful feathers and carvings. Lyra, the young Tirani warrior, studied the stranger. Humans were rare on Virelia, and this one walked confidently without fear. That alone made him suspicious. Her hands tightened on the spear. She would not allow an outsider to threaten her people. With a quick, fluid motion, she raised the spear, aiming directly at Kalen. "Stop!" she hissed. "Stay where you are, or you die!" Kalen froze, but did not panic. He raised his hand slightly and said calmly, "I come in peace. I mean no harm." His voice was firm, confident, yet gentle. Lyra narrowed her eyes. She had heard humans could be cunning, but there was something about his stance, the way he held himself. He didn't look like a trickster. Still, she could not risk letting him live. She threw the spear with perfect precision. Time seemed to slow for Kalen. He watched the spear spin through the air, its tip aimed straight at his chest. Without thinking, his hand shot out and caught the spear mid-flight. The force of the throw pressed against his palm, but he held it steady. Lyra's eyes widened. No Tirani, not even her mentor, could have caught a spear like that. She stepped back, her chest heaving, and stared at him. How did you?" she whispered. Kalen lowered the spear slowly and smiled faintly. "I told you, I mean no harm. I only want to learn, to understand your people." For a moment, Lyra's anger and suspicion collided with curiosity and awe. His calmness, his strength, and the way he had reacted without hurting her made her heart beat faster, not with fear, but something new and confusing. "You are brave or foolish," she said finally, her voice a mixture of caution and respect. "Few dare stand against a Tirani with such composure." Kalen nodded. "I have trained for many challenges. I respect skill and courage wherever I find it." The forest seemed to hold its breath. Birds and insects paused, and even the wind stilled. Lyra lowered her spear slightly, though she did not completely relax. She wanted to see more of this human, to know if he was truly worthy of their trust. "Walk with me," Kalen said gently. "I mean no harm. I want to see your world." Lyra hesitated. Her instincts told her to attack again, but something in his eyes told her he would not deceive her. Slowly, she gestured for him to follow. "Careful," she warned. "One wrong move, and I will strike." "I understand," Kalen replied. As they moved deeper into the forest, Lyra watched him closely. Humans were strange creatures to the Tirani. They were not as fast, nor as naturally strong, but they were clever in ways the Tirani were not. Kalen's calm presence, his patience, and his careful observation impressed her. They crossed streams and climbed over fallen trees. Kalen asked questions about the plants, the animals, and the strange glowing rocks scattered across the forest floor. Lyra answered cautiously, noticing how genuinely interested he was. He did not just ask questions to seem polite. He wanted to learn, to understand the planet and its people. At one point, a group of small, bright-eyed creatures scurried across their path. Lyra froze, ready to defend herself, but Kalen whispered, "They are harmless. Look at them. They are curious like me." He reached out, and one of the creatures sniffed his hand before darting away. Lyra could not hide her surprise. He had a gentle touch, even with wild animals. By the time the sun began to set, painting the forest in gold and purple, Lyra realized she had not felt the usual tension she did around strangers. Kalen's presence was strange, calming, and intriguing. They reached a clearing where a small waterfall cascaded into a crystal pool. Lyra perched on a rock, still holding her spear loosely. "Why do you come here?" she asked, finally letting her curiosity speak louder than caution. Kalen sat across from her. "I want to explore, yes. But more than that, I want to understand. Humans have traveled far, but we have much to learn from other species. From your people." Lyra tilted her head. "And what if I do not trust you?" "Then I will earn it," he said simply. "I will prove through my actions, not words." The statement struck her. Words were easy, but actions showed truth. She had never met a human like this, one who stood firm yet gentle, strong yet careful. The first stars began to appear in the Verelian sky. Lyra watched him as he observed the constellations with quiet fascination. There was something about the human that felt steady, reliable, and remarkable. For the first time, she felt a flicker of respect, followed by curiosity she could not ignore. Who was this human who caught her spear and did not attack her? Who spoke gently, yet held his own with confidence? As night fell, she realized that this encounter was only the beginning. She did not yet understand him, but already she knew her world had shifted. A stranger had entered her life, and she could not stop thinking about him. And in that moment, as the stars reflected in the pool below, Lyra felt the first spark of fascination, and perhaps the first stirrings of something deeper. The next morning, the forest of Verelia was alive with sounds, birds calling, leaves rustling, and small creatures scurrying among the roots. Lyra led Kalen deeper into the Tirani territory. Today, she had decided to test him. "You survived." "Yesterday," she said, her eyes sharp. "But surviving is not enough. If you wish to stay here, you must prove yourself." Kalen nodded. "I understand. Show me what I need to do." Lyra smirked. "Follow me, then." The first trial was a forest chase. Lyra sprinted through the thick ferns and over fallen logs, her movements swift and graceful. Kalen ran after her, careful to match her speed without losing balance. Humans were slower naturally, but Kalen's strategy was different. He observed the terrain, anticipated obstacles, and used clever shortcuts to keep up. By the end of the chase, Lyra was impressed. She had expected him to struggle, to fall behind, but he had adapted quickly. "Not bad for a human," she said, breathing heavily. "You may survive the forest after all." Next came the climbing trial. Lyra led him to a steep cliff that overlooked a sparkling river below. The rocks were jagged and slick with moss. "Climb," she said simply. "Reach the top before I do." Kalen assessed the cliff. He could have rushed, but he moved deliberately, finding secure footholds, testing each grip, and using vines when necessary. Lyra was shocked at his balance and patience. Where most humans might panic, he moved with purpose, showing both intelligence and strength. By the time they reached the top, Lyra was panting and slightly exhausted. Kaelin smiled, offering her a hand as she stepped onto the final ledge. She hesitated, then accepted it. A small spark of respect passed between them. He was not just strong, he was considerate. The third trial was river navigation. Lyra pointed to a wide, fast-flowing river. "Cross it. Don't touch the water too much." Kaelin glanced at the river. It was dangerous, with strong currents and hidden rocks. He observed the flow, studied the shallow paths, and leapt carefully from stone to stone. When a large wave hit unexpectedly, he adjusted his balance and landed safely on the opposite bank. Lyra's jaw dropped. "I did not think you could do that," she admitted. Kaelin shrugged. "I observe first, then act. Strength is important, but so is understanding." After the trials, they sat near the river, cooling down and catching their breath. Lyra finally let herself relax. She could feel her admiration growing. Humans were often underestimated, but Kaelin had proven he was clever, adaptable, and strong in ways different from the Tyranni. "Why do you help?" she asked, curious. "Why do you wish to learn our ways?" Kaelin looked at the river, his reflection shimmering in the water. "Because strength is more than power. It is knowing, understanding, and respecting others. Your people have skills humans could learn from, and I wish to learn them." Lyra studied him. Most outsiders came to take, to conquer, or to exploit. Kaelin came to learn, to share, and to respect. She felt a strange warmth in her chest. For the first time, a human did not feel like a stranger. He felt capable, kind, and trustworthy. They continued their journey through the forest. Kaelin asked questions about plants, animals, and the carvings on Tyranni rocks. Lyra answered carefully, realizing he truly wanted to understand. He did not mock or dismiss their ways. He listened. At one point, they encountered a small herd of grazing animals, shaped like deer but with shimmering scales instead of fur. Lyra tensed, ready to defend them if Kaelin caused harm. Instead, Kaelin crouched and whispered to the creatures, extending a hand. One bold animal approached, sniffing his palm before retreating. Lyra's eyes widened. You did not harm them," she said. "I would never harm those who trust me," Kaelin replied simply. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, Lyra led him to a clearing where the tribe often trained their young warriors. The clearing was wide, surrounded by tall, glowing trees, and the air was filled with the sound of distant waterfalls. Lyra gestured to the center. "Your final trial is here." Kaelin looked around. Lyra held her spear loosely, her stance casual but alert. "This is not about fighting," she said. "It is about skill, timing, and trust. Throw your best strike, and I will meet it." Kaelin nodded. "I accept." Lyra lunged, throwing her spear with lightning speed. Kaelin stepped forward and caught it without flinching, just as he had before. But this time, he did not just hold. He shifted it slightly, returning it to her in a smooth, controlled motion. Lyra's eyes widened again, and this time it was not just surprise. Her heart beat faster. She had not expected him to catch it so perfectly, and then return it with respect. "You are different," she admitted, lowering her spear completely. "Most humans would panic or fail. I observe, I respect, and I learn," Kaelin said softly. For the first time, Lyra smiled freely. It was not a smile of caution or suspicion. It was a smile of genuine admiration. He had passed all her trials, not by brute force alone, but by intelligence, patience, and respect for the Tyranni ways. They sat together in the clearing as night fell. Stars began to appear in the sky, reflected in the pool of water nearby. Lyra felt a connection growing, strange and new. Kaelin was not just a visitor. He was someone she wanted to know better. You are unlike anyone I have met, she admitted, quietly. And you are unlike anyone I have met, Kaelin replied. The forest seemed to hold its breath around them. The trials had ended, but something far more powerful had begun. A mutual respect, curiosity, and a spark of something neither of them could yet name. Lyra did not realize how much her view of humans had changed. Kaelin had proven that humans could be brave, clever, and honorable. He had shown her that strength was not only physical, it was in patience, understanding, and heart. As they prepared to leave the clearing, Lyra felt a strange excitement. The trials were over, but she knew this was only the beginning. The human warrior had entered her world, passed her tests, and left a mark she could not ignore. And Kaelin, walking beside her, felt the same curiosity and admiration. The planet was wild, the tyranny fierce, but together they would explore more than just the forests. They would discover trust, respect, and perhaps something deeper. Part 2 ends here. Kaelin proves his skill and intelligence through tyranny, trials, earning respect and beginning a deeper bond with Lyra. The next few days passed in a mix of training, exploration, and quiet conversation. Kaelin and Lyra grew more comfortable with each other. He learned the tyranny ways, their hunting techniques, their careful observation of nature, and their respect for all living things. Lyra, in turn, watched him carefully, seeing how he combined strength, intelligence, and patience in every action. But not everyone in the tribe welcomed a human. Chief Varun, Lyra's mentor and leader of the tyranny, watched from a distance. His deep brown eyes narrowed whenever he saw Kaelin. He had lived through decades of outsiders trying to take advantage of the tribe. Humans were clever, sometimes too clever. Varun did not trust this one. Lyra noticed her mentor's unease, but did not understand it fully. She admired Kaelin and trusted him, yet she could not ignore Varun's warnings. One morning, she asked, "Chief Varun, why do you look at him with such caution?" Varun's voice was low and serious. "Because humans are unpredictable. They may learn our ways, but they do not yet belong here. Trust must be earned, and even then it is fragile." Lyra frowned. "But Kaelin has proven himself. He respects our traditions, and he has passed every trial." Varun shook his head. "Respect is not enough. Only time and true action will reveal his intentions. Do not forget, Lyra, strength alone does not make a warrior wise. Danger can come from where you least expect it." Lyra nodded, but she felt a spark of frustration. Kaelin had shown her nothing but honesty and courage. She could not believe he would harm her people. Yet she understood her mentor's caution. It was his duty to protect the tribe. That afternoon, as Kaelin and Lyra walked near the edge of the forest, the sky began to darken. Dark clouds rolled across the horizon, moving faster than normal. The air grew heavy and humid. Birds fell silent, and the usual forest sounds seemed to vanish. Lyra's instincts screamed danger. "Kaelin, we should return to the village. Something is wrong." Kaelin glanced at the sky and nodded. "I agree, let's move quickly." But the storm hit faster than expected. A sudden, fierce rain began to pour. The wind whipped through the trees, bending trunks and shaking branches. The forest floor became slippery and treacherous. Kaelin grabbed Lyra's hand to steady her as they ran toward higher ground. As they ran, they noticed a small river swelling, quickly, turning into a torrent of rushing water. Trees and rocks were swept along with it. Lyra's heart pounded. She had seen storms before, but nothing like this. "We must warn the village!" she shouted over the roar of the wind. Kaelin's mind worked quickly. "We can't run through the lower paths. They'll be flooded. Follow me. I know a safer route." He led her through narrow passages between trees, leaping over fallen logs and using vines to swing across small gaps. Lyra struggled to keep up, but Kaylin's calm voice guided her. Step here. Hold on. Don't rush. When they finally reached the village, the situation was worse than either had expected. Water surged toward the homes built near the riverbank. Families were trying to secure their shelters, but many of the younger warriors were panicked. Kaylin immediately took command, speaking clearly and calmly. Form 2 lines. Use ropes to pull children and the elders to higher ground. Others secure the buildings and block the water where you can. Lyra watched in amazement. The human who had seemed like an outsider was now organizing her people efficiently, without fear, without arrogance. The Tyranni were following his instructions, and slowly, order replaced chaos. Together, Kaylin and Lyra guided villagers to safety, carried supplies, and reinforced barriers against the rushing water. Kaylin's knowledge of engineering, combined with the Tyranni's agility, created an effective system. Even Chief Varun, observing from the side, could not hide his approval. Hours passed, and the storm raged on. Kaylin never faltered. He remained calm, thinking through every problem and solving it step by step. Lyra began to see him not just as a strong human, but as someone she could rely on completely, even in the worst situations. At one point, a large branch broke loose from a tree and hurtled toward the children sheltering nearby. Without hesitation, Kaylin jumped and used his body to block the branch, saving them. Lyra's heart leapt. His bravery was extraordinary. Finally, after what felt like an endless night, the storm began to ease. The river receded, and the village was safe. There was damage, of course, but no lives were lost. The Tyranni gathered, tired but grateful. Lyra looked at Kaylin, her chest swelling with admiration, and something more. Something she could not yet name. Chief Varun stepped forward. "You have done well, human," he said, his voice serious but approving. "Your actions today saved lives. Perhaps I misjudged you." Kaylin bowed respectfully. "I only did what anyone should do when faced with danger. Your people are strong and capable. I merely helped them see it." Lyra smiled faintly, noticing how humble he was despite his courage. She realized then that this human was unlike any she had ever met, brave, clever, and kind. Her feelings grew stronger, though she struggled to understand them. That evening, after helping repair some of the village homes, Lyra and Kaylin sat together near a small fire. The stars appeared in the clear sky, reflecting in the puddles left by the storm. Lyra broke the silence. "You were amazing today," she said quietly. I did not know humans could be so calm, so smart, and so strong." Kaylin looked at her and smiled gently. "Strength comes in many forms, Lyra. Sometimes it is in the body, sometimes in the mind, and sometimes in the heart. Today, I only tried to use all three." Lyra felt her chest warm. There was something in his voice, honesty, courage, and a sense of care she had never felt before. She could not deny the admiration and the curiosity she felt for him. As the night deepened, she realized the first spark of trust had grown into something stronger. She felt a bond forming, one that neither the storm nor the forest could break. Kaylin had proven himself, not only to her, but to her people. And in that moment, she understood that her fascination with him had grown into something far more meaningful. The storm had tested them both, but it had also brought them closer. Lyra looked at Kaylin, and for the first time, she allowed herself to wonder, not just about his abilities, but about the person he truly was. And she knew this was only the beginning of a journey that would change both their lives forever. The morning after the storm was calm and bright. Sunlight filtered through the trees, making the wet leaves sparkle. The forest smelled fresh and alive. Birds sang, and small creatures ventured from their hiding places. Kalen and Lyra walked, together, helping repair broken paths and checking the riverbanks for loose debris. Lyra had noticed something new about Kalen during the storm. His calmness, his careful observation, and his respect for her people had impressed her. But now, as they worked side by side, she noticed other things too. His sense of humor, the way he listened, and how he seemed to notice even the smallest details about the forest. "You have sharp eyes," she said, pausing to point at a small plant with bright blue flowers. "Most humans would step right over this and not even see it." Kalen knelt and examined the plant carefully. "It's beautiful," he said softly. "And it might be useful. Its leaves look like they could be used for healing." Lyra smiled, surprised. "You actually think about things like that?" "I do," Kalen replied. "Understanding nature helps us survive, and it helps us care for each other." Lyra nodded, impressed. Humans often acted without thinking, but Kalen seemed to have patience and wisdom. She realized she was drawn to his calm and careful ways. After they finished checking the paths, Lyra suggested a break. She led him to a hidden waterfall, smaller than the main one near the village, but just as beautiful. The water fell into a clear pool surrounded by smooth rocks. Sunlight glinted off the water, making it sparkle like diamonds. "This place is special," Lyra said quietly. "Most of the tribe doesn't know about it. It's my secret spot." Kalen smiled. "Thank you for showing me. It's beautiful, peaceful." They sat together on the rocks, letting their feet dip into the cool water. For a moment, neither spoke. They just listened to the sound of the waterfall and felt the warmth of the sun. Finally, Lyra spoke. "I have never met a human like you," she admitted. "You are strong, brave, and clever. But you are also kind. You respect our ways and you listen. Most outsiders do not." Kalen looked at her, his eyes gentle. "I want to learn, not just survive. I want to understand your people, your world, and maybe be a part of it in a way that helps, not harms." Lyra's chest warmed. No human had ever spoken to her this way. Most came with their own plans, their own needs, ignoring the tyranny. But Kalen was different. She realized she trusted him, and something deeper began to grow. To lighten the mood, Lyra challenged him playfully. "I bet you cannot catch me in a race around the pool." Kalen laughed. "Then I accept your challenge." Lyra dashed forward, her feet barely touching the rocks as she ran. Kalen followed, keeping his balance and using clever movements to match her speed. For the first few seconds, she was ahead, laughing as she leaped over a small boulder. But Kalen adjusted his steps and quickly closed the distance. With a gentle grab, he tapped her shoulder and called, "Got you!" Lyra laughed and spun away. "I almost believed I could win," she said, her eyes sparkling. There was a warmth between them, playful and light, but also stronger than either expected. After their playful race, they rested on the rocks again. Lyra noticed how Kalen observed the forest, the movement of leaves, the sounds of hidden animals, the shapes of distant trees. He noticed everything, yet he never seemed overwhelmed. "You are very aware," Lyra said. "You see more than most humans, more than some tyranny even." Kalen shrugged. "I try to pay attention. Every detail matters. Every choice matters." Lyra smiled. She felt safe with him. And at the same time, something new stirred in her heart. She had never felt this way before, not even with other tyranny. There was a connection here, a sense that he could understand her in ways others could not. As the afternoon passed, they explored deeper into the forest together. Kalen learned how to move quietly through the trees, how to spot small signs of animals, and how to use natural paths that were invisible to the untrained eye. Lyra guided him, correcting small mistakes but also encouraging his efforts. "You are learning quickly," she said, impressed. "Most outsiders would fail in these woods." Kalen smiled. "I have a good teacher." Lyra blushed slightly. She had not expected him to notice, but the words made her heart skip. There was a warmth between them now, growing stronger with each shared moment. At one point, they stopped at a grove filled with glowing mushrooms. The soft light created a magical atmosphere, painting their faces in gentle hues. Lyra picked a few and handed one to Kalen. "Here," she said softly. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" He took it and studied it carefully. "Yes, it is, but not as beautiful as this moment." Lyra's eyes widened. She had not expected a human to speak with such care. The words were simple, yet sincere. She felt a flutter in her chest, realizing that her admiration for him had deepened into something she could not easily name. They continued walking until the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange, pink, and purple. Kalen and Lyra found a high ledge overlooking the forest. They sat together, watching the colors of the sky and the shimmering rivers below. "Thank you for today," Lyra said quietly. I enjoyed showing you my world." Kalen turned to her with a gentle smile. "And I am grateful. You have shown me more than just your world. You have shown me courage, skill, and beauty. And you have trusted me." Lyra felt her chest tighten. She had never met anyone who spoke with such honesty and respect. "I trust you," she admitted softly. A comfortable silence fell between them as the first stars appeared. The forest glowed softly in the fading light, and the sounds of creatures settling for the night filled the air. Lyra realized that this human had become more than a visitor. He had become someone she wanted to know, someone she wanted to understand. As night fully fell, Lyra and Kalen made their way back to the village. They walked slowly, side by side, their shoulders almost touching. Neither spoke much, but both felt the bond growing stronger with every step. That night, as they rested in the village, Lyra found herself thinking about him. His bravery, his intelligence, his kindness, and the way he had made her laugh, made her feel safe, and made her see her world differently. Kalen, in turn, thought about Lyra. Her skill, her courage, her quick mind, and her determination fascinated him. But it was more than that. There was a spark of connection, a feeling he could not ignore. He realized he wanted to stay close to her, to learn more about her, and perhaps to be part of her world. The storm had passed, the trials were over, and now a new journey began. Not one of survival, but of friendship, trust, and a bond that could grow into something extraordinary. And as the stars shone over Verelia, Lyra and Kalen each realized the truth. This was the start of a connection neither of them could have expected, a spark that had begun with respect and curiosity, and now burned with something much more profound. Days passed peacefully after the storm. The forest of Verelia seemed calmer, and the Tirani tribe had resumed their daily routines. Lyra and Kalen spent time exploring, training, and learning from each other. Their bond had grown stronger, filled with respect, trust, and a growing sense of curiosity, but the calm did not last. One morning, the sky darkened unnaturally. A deep, low rumble vibrated through the ground, and distant flashes of light illuminated the clouds. The birds flew in panic, and even the smallest creatures scurried for cover. Lyra's instincts told her danger had arrived. "Kalen, we need to return to the village now!" she shouted, running ahead. Kalen followed quickly, keeping pace with her as the forest seemed to react to the approaching threat. As they reached the village, the source of the danger became clear. A rival alien faction from a neighboring star system had arrived. Their ships hovered low above the forest, firing strange beams that lit the treetops and sent animals fleeing. The aliens were tall, armored and heavily armed, their faces hidden behind reflective helmets. The Tirani warriors gathered quickly, their spears and bows ready, but Lyra knew they were outmatched in technology. Even Kalen's human knowledge might not be enough against such advanced equipment. "This is serious," Lyra said, glancing at Kalen. "They do not understand our ways. They only come to take what they want." Kalen's face was calm, though. His mind raced. "We will need strategy, not just strength. Listen to me carefully, and we can defend the village without unnecessary loss." He began directing the Tirani, using their knowledge of the forest to create traps, hideouts, and ambush points. He combined human technology with Tirani agility, using mirrors to reflect light and confuse the enemy, rope traps to slow their advance, and hidden paths to move villagers safely. Lyra watched in awe. Kalen was calm, clear-headed, and clever. He respected her people, using their skills instead of overriding them. "You think like a Tirani and a human at the same time," she whispered. The alien faction began to descend, confident in their superiority. They underestimated the Tirani, and more importantly, underestimated Kalen. As they approached, hidden traps slowed their progress, forcing them to move cautiously. Kalen guided Lyra and a small group to a vantage point atop a cliff, overlooking the main clearing. "From here we can direct the warriors and anticipate their movements," he said. Lyra nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and admiration. "You really believe we can stop them?" "We can," Kalen said firmly, "not by matching them in strength, but by using our minds, our knowledge of the land, and our teamwork. They think they are superior, but they do not know this world like we do." The battle began. Alien soldiers advanced, scanning for Tirani hiding spots, firing beams that cut through the underbrush. Kalen shouted instructions, directing warriors to flank the invaders and use natural cover. He moved quickly, helping to shield children and elders who were in danger. Lyra fought alongside him, her spear flashing in the dim light, striking quickly and retreating into the shadows. She was amazed by how Kalen combined human skill with Tirani strategy, moving efficiently, predicting enemy moves, and saving lives. At one point, an alien soldier broke through a line of defenders and aimed directly at the village children, without hesitation. Kalen leapt forward, knocking the attacker aside with a precise and careful move, using the minimum force needed to stop him. Lyra's heart pounded. His bravery and precision were unmatched. The Tirani were inspired. They had never fought alongside someone who respected their ways and their people so completely. Under Kalen's guidance, they became coordinated, moving as one unit, using the forest to their advantage. Hours passed, and the alien forces began to retreat. Their confidence had been broken by the unexpected strategy and the fierce cooperation between humans and Tirani. Kalen and Lyra, working side by side, had turned what seemed like a hopeless situation into a victory. When the last alien ship withdrew, the Tirani gathered in the clearing, cheering for their survival. Chief Varun approached Kalen, his expression serious but approving. "You have done what few could. You saved lives, protected our tribe, and honored our ways. Perhaps I misjudged you before." Kalen bowed respectfully. "I only did what anyone should do. Your people are strong and brave. I merely helped guide them." Lyra stepped forward, her eyes shining. "You were incredible, Kalen. Not just with skill, but with your mind and heart. I've never seen anyone fight and lead like you before." Kalen looked at her, feeling a warmth he could not explain. "And I've never met anyone as skilled, brave, and wise as you, Lyra. I'm honored to fight alongside you." The night fell, and the village was safe once more. Fires were lit, and the Tirani began repairing damaged homes and paths. Lyra and Kalen stood together on a small rise, looking at the stars that sparkled above the forest. You saved many lives.
Today,
Lyra said softly.
I don't know how to thank you.
You already have, Kalen replied. By trusting me, by fighting with me, and by showing me your world. That is enough. Lyra felt her heart swell. She realized then that her admiration had grown into something stronger, something she could no longer ignore. She trusted him completely, and she felt drawn to him in ways she had never felt for anyone before. Kalen, standing beside her, felt the same connection. He admired her courage, intelligence, and determination. But more than that, he felt a bond, forming, a bond built on trust, respect, and shared experience. As the forest settled into quiet, Lyra and Kalen remained on the rise, side by side. They did not speak much. Words were not needed. The day's events had spoken for them. Through bravery, intelligence, and care, they had protected the village and strengthened their bond. In that moment, both realized something important. This was more than a friendship, more than admiration. It was a partnership, a connection that could face storms, danger, and uncertainty. And it had begun with trust, respect, and the spark that first ignited when Lyra had aimed her spear and Kalen had caught it. The stars shone brightly above, reflecting in the rivers and pools of the forest. It was a new night, a new beginning. Lyra and Kalen knew that together they could face anything, danger, uncertainty, and even the unknown. Their bond had been tested, strengthened, and proven unbreakable. And as they walked back toward the village side by side, they understood a simple truth. When humans and Tirani work together, combining skill, intelligence, and heart, there is nothing they cannot achieve. The morning after the alien threat had passed was calm and bright. Sunlight poured through the leaves, creating patterns on the forest floor. Birds sang again, and the rivers sparkled as if celebrating the survival of the village. Kalen and Lyra walked side by side, helping the Tirani rebuild what had been damaged. The village elders and warriors praised Kalen openly. He had not only helped defend the tribe, but had shown deep respect for their ways, earning the admiration of all. Even Chief Varan, who had been cautious of him from the beginning, now smiled with approval. "You have shown courage, wisdom, and honor," Varan said. "The tribe is grateful, Kalen. You are welcome here." Kalen bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Chief. I only wish to help and learn from your people. I respect your world and your ways." Lyra walked beside him, her eyes reflecting pride and warmth. "You did more than help, Kalen," she said softly. "You inspired everyone, including me. I feel that we can face anything together." Kalen looked at her, sensing the depth of her words. There was trust, admiration, and something more. An unspoken connection that had grown over time, strengthened by trials, laughter, and shared danger. After the morning work was done, Lyra led Kalen to a quiet spot near the waterfall pool they had discovered weeks earlier. The air was warm, the water sparkling, and the forest calm. It felt like a place outside of time, a space where only they existed. Lyra glanced at him, her expression serious but soft. "Kalen, I want to thank you properly," she said, "not just for saving the village, but for everything. For respecting our ways, for trusting me, and for being here with me." Kalen smiled gently. "Lyra, you have shown me courage, wisdom, and friendship. You welcomed me into your world, even when others would not. I am grateful, and I feel at home here, with you." There was a silence, comfortable yet charged with unspoken emotion. Lyra's heart raced. She realized that what she felt for him was more than admiration or respect. She trusted him, she enjoyed his company, and she found herself thinking of him constantly. I I feel the same, she admitted softly. I never imagined I would feel this way about a human. But you are different. Kaelin reached out, taking her hand gently. And you are remarkable, Lyra. Brave, wise, and kind. I want to be by your side. Not as a visitor, but as someone who belongs here with you. Lyra's chest tightened with emotion. The bond they had built over weeks, through trials, training, and danger, had grown into something strong and undeniable. She squeezed his hand, a silent agreement. They spent the day together exploring the forest and observing the wildlife. Kaelin learned more about the plants, the animals, and the hidden paths. Lyra taught him subtle techniques the Tirani used to move silently, to blend with the environment, and to communicate without words. Kaelin absorbed it all eagerly, asking questions and showing genuine curiosity. By evening, they returned to the village, where the tribe had prepared a small celebration. Fires burned brightly, music played, and the Tirani danced under the stars. Kaelin and Lyra joined them, laughing and moving with the rhythm. It was a moment of joy, of unity, and of relief after weeks of tension and danger. During the celebration, Chief Varun approached them. His expression was serious, yet warm. Lyra, Kaelin, you have shown what humans and Tirani can achieve together. Trust, respect, and cooperation can overcome any challenge. I am proud of both of you. Lyra smiled at her mentor, then at Kaelin. We learned together, she said simply. Kaelin nodded. And we will continue to learn together, not just surviving, but building a stronger future. After the celebration, the forest quieted. Lyra and Kaelin walked to their secret waterfall pool once more. The water reflected the stars, creating a shimmering mirror of light above them. Lyra turned to him, her eyes bright. Kaelin, I want you to stay, not just for a day or a week, but longer. I want us to face the future together, whatever it may bring. Kaelin held her hand and smiled. I want the same. I have found something here I never expected, a home, a purpose, and someone I truly care about. I will stay, Lyra, as long as you wish. They sat together in silence, watching the reflection of the stars in the water. The forest seemed to wrap around them, protective and peaceful. It was a moment of connection, trust, and love that had grown quietly over weeks of shared experiences. Lyra leaned her head on Kaelin's shoulder. I never thought I could feel this way, she whispered. But now, see, I cannot imagine my world without you in it. Kaelin wrapped an arm around her, feeling the same certainty. And I cannot imagine my journey without you by my side. Together, we can face anything. The forest, challenges, or even new adventures beyond Virelia. As the night deepened, they stayed by the pool, talking, laughing, and sharing stories. The bond between them had grown unbreakable, a mix of trust, admiration, and love. They had faced trials, storms, and threats, but each challenge had only brought them closer. In the days that followed, Kaelin became an integral part of the Tirani tribe. He shared his knowledge of technology and strategy while learning the Tirani ways and customs. Lyra remained his closest companion, guide, and partner. Together they strengthened the village, helped the tribe thrive, and explored the wild forests of Virelia. Their connection inspired the tribe as well. Humans and Tirani could work together, learn from each other, and protect their world. Kaelin's arrival had been unexpected, but it had brought unity, understanding, and a new future full of promise. And in the quiet moments, when the stars shone bright over the forest, Lyra and Kaelin would return to their waterfall pool hand in hand, knowing they had found more than adventure. They had found each other. The story that began with a thrown spear, a captured gaze, and a moment of trust had blossomed into a lasting bond. A human and a Tirani warrior from different worlds had found respect, friendship and love through courage, patience, and understanding. Virelia's forests continued to flourish. The rivers sparkled under the stars, and the bond between Lyra and Kaelin remained as steady and strong as the ancient trees surrounding them. Together, they had proven that trust, respect, and heart could unite even the most unlikely of allies, and that the spark ignited by courage and understanding could grow into a flame that would light the way for a brighter future.